What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Paddy Pimblett reacts to Ilia Topuria's comments. Yesterday, Ilia Topuria held his infamous press conference in Spain where he talked about the potential plans moving forward. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. During the press conference, Ilia reacted to the rumors of him headlining the first Paramount card by saying it's very possible. And then when talking about a potential opponent, Ilia said, 3 people I'd like to fight? Definitely Paddy, as we have history. I think that's the fight everyone wants to see, and I think you all want me to do that thing that I can't say here out loud. The second one, Islam. And who would be the third one? I don't know. Anyone can get it. Well, it looks like Paddy saw those comments because he reacted on social media, writing, Paddy, why hasn't Ilia signed the contract yet? With a picture of him shrugging. Do you think we're getting a potential Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett fight to headline the first Paramount card? And where does that leave Justin Gaethje, considering he said he'll fight for the belt next or retire? Daniel Cormier not happy with UFC's scoring system. Daniel Cormier has criticized how takedowns are scored in MMA fights in the past, and following UFC 320, he's amplifying his objections. How come? Well, as you may recall, in a co-headliner for UFC 320, Merab Dvalishvili put his wrestling to work once again and recorded a unanimous decision win over Corey Sandhagen. According to the official stats for the fight, Merab recorded 20 takedowns in the contest. Sandhagen, meanwhile, defended 17 attempts. More recently, Cormier weighed in on those stats during his podcast with Chael Sonnen. While doing so, Cormier reported he doesn't agree that Merab scored 20 takedowns in a fight. Here is some of what he had to say.
The MMA takedown is a problem. The way that they score MMA takedowns is the problem, Chael. A takedown should be when you go to the mat. A takedown should not be when you get back up and the guy picks you up and just puts you back down. He never lost control. They called me in. They called me in, Chael. They sat me with the people that do the takedowns, and I still walked out of there going, well, it ain't a takedown. They should get us in the room. Let us tell them what a takedown is. And then those numbers won't seem so big. Merab didn't get 20 takedowns. Merab probably got 5 or 6 takedowns, and he got 14 mat returns.
As noted, Cormier has raised concerns with how takedowns are recorded in MMA fights. And in this particular fight, many would argue that whether Merab recorded 20 or just 5 or 6, like Cormier believes, would not have changed how the fight was scored. After all, Merab controlled much of the action, and he also outstruck Sandhagen by a wide margin. But Sandhagen recently accused Dvalishvili of essentially gaming the scoring system. While talking with Ariel Helwani, here were some of his takes on the fight and Dvalishvili's grappling. I mean, the 20 takedowns is kind of funny to me because I think that if you watch that fight, you're not going to be like, wow, Merab's wrestling was super impressive. It's kind of just like mat returns don't hurt. You know what I mean? It's really good for just keeping a lock on someone, and that's the type of lock he was using. I was actually really surprised that he was really adamant about staying on those body locks for so long. A lot of his other fights, he'll kind of fight for that a little bit, but then let go and start punching. And I was kind of expecting him to do that, but he made me fight his grip the whole time, and he milked a lot of clock doing that. It's a gamey way to win. It'll be interesting to see if any of this criticism impacts Merab's strategy in his next bout. The bantamweight champion is booked to fight Peter Yan at UFC 323 on December 6th. Anthony Hernandez responds to Sean Strickland call-out. It remains to be seen who Anthony Hernandez fights next, following his withdrawal from UFC Vancouver, but the surging middleweight says he's more than willing to fight Sean Strickland. Well, kind of, following the former champion's call-out. Hernandez was booked to fight Rania de Ridder in the main event of this Saturday's event, but an injury forced him to the sidelines. Since Hernandez is riding an 8-fight winning streak, the consensus was that an impressive win over RDR could possibly deliver him a title shot. Well, more recently, Strickland told MMA Junkie that he wants to fight Hernandez next. He also took several pokes at Hernandez's Wrestling Central approach and even called him the American Chimaev. In a follow-up episode of the Weigh In podcast, Hernandez was asked to comment on Strickland's call-out. And while doing so, Hernandez relayed that he also has Dricus du Plessis in his sights. Sean's funny, he's wild, he's always saying crazy that's just who he is as a person, but I get it. If he wants to fight me, then run it. I don't give a but I would like to fight DDP because that would get me to the belt guaranteed. Either way, I think both fights get me to the belt, so I really don't care. At the end of the day, whoever the matchmakers make the fight with or call me for, I'm going to sign the waiver and run it. I think both fights would be fun. Both fights would be very bloody, and I think we both get a lot of money for those fights, so I don't give a Hernandez also provided more context as to why, ultimately, he would prefer to fight du Plessis. I'd like to fight DDP because he did a lot of good as a champion. He beat a lot of big name guys, so I think if you beat him, it would be a good champion to beat, like a once proven champion. Now, some may argue that Hernandez really wants to fight Du Plessis since he had no answers for Chimaev's wrestling and top game. But it's also true that DDP is currently ranked number 1 and that he's lost just once since 2018. He's also defeated Strickland twice, so a win over former champion at this point could mean more. Dana White goes off on LUNATIC promoter. In a recent interview, Dana went off on boxing promoter Eddie Hearn. Now, if you don't remember, Hearn had some harsh words about Dana recently critiquing his boxing match he promoted with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. Well, it looks like Dana has had enough of what Eddie has to say and fired back at him, calling him a lunatic during an episode of 3 Knockdown Rule podcast. Here's what Dana had to say.
Well, it's fascinating. Eddie Hearn all of a sudden is acting like a lunatic. You know what he sounds like to me? He sounds like he's reading a WWE script. I've known Eddie for a while, and this isn't Eddie's personality. But the other thing is, when you hear somebody like Eddie talk, it reminds me of a career politician. He's running for election now, and he's like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this. Well, where were you the last 20 years? You didn't do. Those guys never thought big. All of a sudden now, Eddie's going to, change boxing, and he's going to fix this, and he's going to do that, and he's going to compete with me, and he's going to do all this. I don't even think about those guys, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And like Eddie Hearn, which was hilarious, where Eddie Hearn's like, he didn't come up with this fight. He didn't create Canelo. Yeah, no Sherlock. Where have you seen me running around going, I came up with this idea, and say I came up with Canelo Crawford, I made it, and all this. Somebody is writing him a WWE script, and he just sounds ridiculous. They're not going to do jack.
Dricus Du Plessis predicts Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Tom Aspinall is a sizable favorite in the betting lines ahead of UFC 321, and it doesn't sound like we'll see Dricus Du Plessis throwing any cash at the fight's dog. Aspinall is booked to face the former interim heavyweight champion Ciryl Gane at the November 22nd event, taking place in Abu Dhabi. The fight will be Aspinall's first since he was officially declared the undisputed champion after John Jones' very brief retirement. Well, as the event nears, Aspinall is the favorite to win the contest with odds in the -400 to -480 range. Du Plessis recently spoke with Fight Forecast, and here's what he had to say when asked who he thinks will win the championship fight.
So it's going to be very interesting. I'm going Aspinall on this one. I think he's hungry. I think he's ready. He looks phenomenal in the training footage that I saw. Obviously, Ciryl Gane is a specimen. I mean, just the way he's built, he's massive, and once again, anything can happen. It's heavyweights.
And really, this shouldn't come as a surprise, as DDP has heaped praise on Aspinall in the past. Case in point, just a couple months ago, Du Plessis had this to say about Aspinall. The first time you saw Tom Aspinall fight, you knew there was something special. He's almost the next generation of heavyweight, in my opinion, where he moves like a middleweight. He's light on his feet, he can grapple, he can strike, he can wrestle, so I'm really happy for him. I think he's going to be a great champion, and I think he's going to be a champion for a long time. I don't think there's a lot of heavyweights on his level right now. Yeah, and Du Plessis certainly isn't the only person who's made comments like this about Aspinall and his awe-inspiring abilities. UFC updates. Let's take a look at some UFC and fight updates. AG Fight recently reported that middleweights Marco Tulio and Christian Leroy Duncan are gonna battle at the UFC's November 8th Fight Night card in Vegas. Tulio is coming off a stoppage win over Tresean Gore in April, which was his second straight finish. After graduating from Dana White's Contender Series in 2024, the Brazilian fighter is riding a 10-fight winning streak. Duncan, meanwhile, took out Eric Anders in his last outing, which went down in August. The English fighter has gone 3-2 in his last 5. And MMA Junkie also recently reported that the November 8th Vegas card will feature a battle between flyweights Matt Schnell and Joseph Morales. Schnell likely avoided receiving his walking papers from the UFC in April by recording a unanimous decision win over Jimmy Flick. The American fighter has lost 3 in a row prior to that. Morales, meanwhile, is coming off a submission win over Alibi Idris in August to win the 33rd season of The Ultimate Fighter. The American has won 6 straight fights if you include his exhibition victories during TUF. And chances are this won't make Dan Hooker lose any sleep ahead of his November 22nd bout with Arman Tsarukyan, but a video clip of Tsarukyan knocking a punching bag down is raising some eyebrows. Tsarukyan will be fighting for the first time since April 2024, when he defeated Charles Oliveira via split decision. That victory was Arman's 4th straight. Hooker also hasn't fought in 2025 yet, as his last fight took place in August 2024 when he defeated Mattel's Gamrot by split decision. Gamrot is the last man to defeat Tsarukyan. Hooker is riding a 3-fight winning streak heading into UFC Qatar. And while we may not see Ciryl Magomedov back in the cage before 2025 winds up, the highlight reel strikers make an appearance on the silver screen. Recently, the middleweight reported to fans that he has a part in the upcoming Goldfish movie starring Danny Trejo. The movie's trailer also shows and mentions Ciryl is in the flick. There was talk of Magomedov fighting Paulo Costa in November, but the Russian fighter is recovering from nose surgery. UFC fighter breaks silence on backlash from Khabib comments. Anshul Jubli was getting piled on earlier this year for things he said about how a hypothetical fight between him and Khabib Nurmagomedov would play out. But now the lightweight is firing back at his critics, and he's claiming his comments were taken out of context. Earlier this year, heads were turned when it was reported that Jubli said he could submit Nurmagomedov. Not only that, the comments made headlines around the same time Jubli was quickly stopped by Quillen Salkeld. At the time, a video was shared in which Jubli apparently made these comments. "There's no difference between me and Khabib. I have a world champion mindset. I'm extremely strong mentally. Nothing can break me. There's nothing in the world that can break me. Maybe I have to survive the first round, and then I can get a knockout in the second round. I can submit Khabib." The statements were even passed along to Khabib's longtime coach, Javier Mendez, who had this to say in response. "Anshul, he's a good kid. I don't know why he's saying ridiculous things like that. Maybe he's just trying to get attention. He's in no position to talk like that. Brother, become a champion or be a #1 contender. You want to talk that kind of talk? But bro, what's his record in the UFC? It's 1-2 or is it 2-2? Fast forward to today, and it's being reported that Jubli is finally pushing back at these reports. In a recent social media post, the Indian fighter said this: "As you've seen, they took small clips from my long interview and made it look like I'm disrespecting Khabib. First of all, I don't give a damn what people think of me. I don't waste energy on opinions, especially to those brainless, brainwashed haters. I'm doing all the right things and I'm coming back stronger than ever. To the haters, that hateful mind, where I'm talking good about Khabib, taking small clips from there and making it look like I'm speaking badly about him, that is beyond my understanding. People who know me know very well how much I look up to Khabib. I've taken a lot from Khabib in my own game, but those who have hate deep inside, they won't understand this. And the part where I'm saying I'd submit Khabib, it is said in a sense of humor. You'll understand if you see the whole video." Now, it remains to be seen if we'll see Jubli back in the cage anytime soon. After going 6-0, which included a victory on the road to the UFC series, Jubli has gone 1-2 in the octagon. The MMA community roasts Jon Jones for footage. Video was released showing Jon Jones and Hasbulla play fighting on a couch. Hasbulla was covering Jon's face with a pillow while he pretended to grasp for air. It all seemed like it was in good spirit until fans noticed that after his face was covered with the pillow, Jon Jones seemed to get a little bit excited with fans calling him out for getting bricked up. Here's the clip.
I need that video. Oh, tell Hasbulla.
The MMA community was quick to roast Jon, especially considering the rumors that have been circulating about him. Here's what the fans had to say. The noises he was making too, disgusting. Why they got this dude Jon Jones bricked up like this? This is the same guy that told Joe Rogan on a long format interview that he had to pills, and that's why he failed the test. I ain't never seen Hasbulla move so fast in my life. That brother is scared. What the hell is wrong with this dude? It gets worse every time he's in the headlines. Jon Jones looked way too excited here from Hasbulla. He looks like he likes it when men put things on his face. Hasbulla is actually 23, so Jon found a successful loophole here. This is in top 10 most ridiculous videos ever. I've seen enough, don't ever let him come back to the sport. New mythical fighter bricked up Jon Jones. Bro's looking at his helper like, bro, get me the out of here.